Welcome to a victory edition of Spits and Suds, playoff edition. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. Stars liking that home ice 6-2 over the Avalanche. Before we get started, let's do it, everybody. You don't mind, I'll take a little sippity sip. You know, one of the things that happens is I pop these Frosties and then I get so into the show that I forget to drink the Frosties, and I'm like leaving grenades all over the place because I don't get to drink them, and then they're warm. So thank you for allowing me the sips, and thank you for listening and supporting Spits and Suds. Truly appreciate it. Well, Pete DeBoer, prior to the game, called out the top six forwards of the Dallas Stars and said they need to show up tonight, and boy, they certainly did. Wyatt Johnston, 2 goals, including the first goal just 9 seconds into the game. So here's a fascinating stat. So Wyatt Johnston, 9 seconds into the game, and you're wondering, okay, where is that all time? So it's 5th fastest to begin a Stanley Cup playoff game in NHL history. I need to know now what number 1 is. How can something, I mean, this is like, you know, remember the old show Name That Tune, where it's like, you know, the contestant was like, well, I can name that in one note. And it's like, how did that happen? And I'm just wondering, I mean, it has to be down to about 4 or 5 seconds. How does that happen? So I'll do some work. I'll find out for you. And we'll get the answer for you, maybe even before the end of this podcast. But we will get the information for you. Also, Johnston, 15th of his playoff career, meaning goals, ties him with Jeremy Roenick for the 6th most playoff games by a player age 21 or younger. It's the 3rd time in his career that he's had 2 goals in a playoff game. He was 9 for 13 in the faceoff dot tonight. Those faceoff wins set a record for the most in a single playoff game in his career. So that is an amazing stat line for Wyatt Johnston. Who else showed up? Mikko Rantanen. And when we talk about the term elite, I hope you saw what Mikko Rantanen has the ability to do. And I'm right with you. I think he is certainly needed to score more points, but he has been doing some little things in this series that I've really liked. And just his presence on the ice opens up other possibilities. The breakout speed with the tic-tac-toe between him and Roope Hintz. So the breakout speed, just knowing when to get it to Hintz, and then releasing and going and getting past the defense. Perfect positioning, great pass from Hintz, and the Stars score on a 2-on-1. Let's fast forward to the power play and the effectiveness of Mikko Rantanen. And this was a crucial part of the game. Colorado had scored 2 straight goals and made it 3-2. Wyatt Johnston scored his 2nd goal of the game to make it 4-2. Great response by the Stars. In fact, they scored 2 goals to respond to Colorado's 2 goals in a span of 1:44 seconds, completely flipped the game. Colorado had all the momentum, and then it went away on that power play. So earlier in that power play, I think it's important to really diagram for you. So early in that power play, they swung it over to Rantanen's side. He had a one-timer, and it was a nice save by Blackwood. But that sets up the goal, and here's why. Because the next time it's cycled around, it goes to Rantanen, and he goes to Matt Duchene to the side of Blackwood. Okay? If there's a different player other than Mikko Rantanen in that position, I'm not so sure Colorado doesn't stop that pass across the middle. But because they have to respect the one-timer and the accuracy of Mikko Rantanen, they have to play to his side. If you watch that goal, look at how open Wyatt Johnston is. Terrific pass by Matt Duchene. But that space was open and created due to Mikko Rantanen being on the ice. Because if Colorado caves or leans toward Wyatt Johnston's side, Mikko Rantanen hits the one-timer. If they go after Matt Duchene and he leaves it off for Mikko Rantanen with the one-timer. And you have to respect that shot. Therefore, you have to stay in your formation. Therefore, you cannot leave your position. And Matt Duchene found the opening. So it just opens up possibilities. And that's what having a great player on the ice does. We can say the same thing about Colorado and Nathan MacKinnon. And what Nathan MacKinnon did tonight basically was he was mad and he's like, I am absolutely putting this team on my back and I'm going to do everything possible for my team to come back and hopefully win this game. The guy's a Hart Trophy winner, could be a two-time Hart Trophy winner when the NHL awards are announced. There's no doubt he is top 3 in the league at this point. And that's where the loss of Miro Heiskanen really plays a factor, because the Stars really don't have a trailer, and Miro Heiskanen would be that guy in this case. So on that goal in which MacKinnon used his speed and basically did a half circle into a shooting lane, Miro would likely be trailing him if he was on the ice. So that's just a good example of how a Stars injury could certainly hurt their chances. And that leads me to my next point. When it comes to playoffs and when it comes to people upset at this Dallas Stars team, I don't think they're giving enough chatter to the fact that 2 of their top players are missing. I'll even leave MacKinnon on the ice, but take away Cale Makar and take away Martin Necas, let's say, or Lehkonen. That is a different Colorado Avalanche team, or Nichushkin. Because that's really some guys that are comparison to Jason Robertson. I think Jason Robertson's better than all of them, but I just didn't want to take out MacKinnon because he's in a world of his own. But I want Stars fans to remember that, because I think it's really important to remember those aspects. I think it's really important to remember every single time Pete DeBoer brings something up in a press conference, it just seems to happen. So I think we kind of take coaching for granted, and I think we take injuries for granted. The fact that the Stars are up 3-2, and remember, Vegas had Colorado winning this series. Vegas had Colorado, I believe, second to win the Stanley Cup heading into the playoffs. They were certainly up there. Dallas had fallen back due to the losing streak and due to the injuries. But my point being is that Dallas is not supposed to win this series. You can say they're the 2 seed, and I appreciate that. But Dallas, due to the injuries and due to the way they came into the playoffs, are not technically, per the odds makers, supposed to win this series. So to be up 3-2, we just have to enjoy that. So getting back to Rantanen, that's his single playoff game career high 3 points. His goal made him the 7th different player in NHL history to score a playoff goal against a team with which he tallied 100 plus postseason points with. So kind of cool there to do it against his old team. Here's another great stat per natural stat trick, and these guys were terrific tonight. When the pair of Liam Bichsel and Alexander Petrovic were on the ice during 5-on-5 play, the Stars outshot the Avalanche 7-3. That is a telltale sign of the game. The fact that Petrovic and Bichsel were that effective. Remember last year, they were protecting Lundqvist? And remember they were protecting Joel Hanley? Well, it's really interesting when you look at the minutes of these guys, and it's certainly not up there with Harley, but it's so funny because we look at the effectiveness of Liam Bichsel on the ice tonight. The quote-unquote enforcer, the guy that's going to be physical, the guy that's going to throw his weight around, the guy that's going to make that big check on the ice, the guy that everyone compares him to Darian Hatcher, and I guess that's a good comparison. Obviously, he needs more games under his belt. But do you realize Liam Bichsel only played 11:05 tonight? And that's compared to Harley's 26 or Lindell's 23:37. Cody Ceci, 23-22, time on ice. 11 minutes and that kind of impact. That just shows what kind of future he has. Dallas has got a good one, guys. Would not be surprised within the next year if you do not see Liam Bichsel getting more minutes in a top 4 position. Needs to get some games under his belt, but he's heading in that direction. So Bichsel played 11:05, Petrovic played 12:28, and still, it amazes me. Brought it up with Sean the other day. How is it? I was trying to think of an example. I was trying to think of a brilliant example in sports, and I can't think of one. We all have the players in our mind that come up and have these stunning, oh my goodness moments. Evan Carter with the Rangers getting called up for just, I don't know, what was it, 25 games? And then having the playoffs that he did. One of their star players in the playoffs will always be memorable. Tony Romo goes down. And all of a sudden, this guy named Dak Prescott comes in. And I remember being at the Cowboys luncheon and the depression setting over everyone that this season was a wash. And then they just took off. So sports is so funky in that way. And Petrovic is a fascinating story. First of all, great offseason signing by Jim Nill to keep him. But Petrovic, for the second straight year, plays abundantly in Texas for the Texas Stars in the minors, and then comes up right before the playoffs and plays in the playoffs. How is it a guy that can't get in the regular season is playing all these playoff games? It just is outstanding. And the fact that he had an assist tonight, Mason Marchment with the drive-by, love it. Absolutely love it. Mason Marchment, you are a roller coaster, but thank you for getting in front of the net, making the big tip. That was the second goal as far as the momentum changer when the Stars responded to Avalanche 2 goals. So stick tap to Petrovic, just absolutely wonderful. So thought the Stars were much tighter defensively tonight. They got the puck out of the zone quick, which led to odd man rushes for the Stars. Thought they did a real nice job. Colorado, towards the late part of the game, did establish their forecheck just a little bit, but I thought early the Stars did a nice job escaping that deep, hard forecheck that was tiring them out in the previous game in Colorado. So the best way to describe it, if you're a new Spits and Suds listener and you're trying to get used to the game of hockey. So if you watch basketball, the equivalent of a forecheck would be a full court press in basketball. In other words, you are pressing to force the defense to make mistakes. So you are sending extra men into the offensive zone, hoping that there is a turnover so the other players can cycle in. And it wears the other team out if they cannot get it out of the zone. And I thought the Stars actually wore the Avs out at times. The Avs had to make some changes. In football, we see it all the time. Sending the linebacker or sending a safety on a safety blitz. In other words, creating havoc to open up that man to get to the quarterback. Okay? That's another example of a forecheck. But just like a blitz in football, if the quarterback has enough time, if the blitzer is picked up, what happens? There's an open receiver. There's always going to be an open man. And it's the same with a forecheck. If you can break that forecheck like the Stars did tonight against the Avalanche, you will have odd man breakouts because they're so deep. In fact, that Rantan goal was caused by the Avalanche being in deep and not being able to control the puck. Stars pull it out, and that's what led to the odd man rush. So for those of you listening to Spits and Suds, you can always hit me up at GJ Spittle. Send me a direct message. Happy to explain. In fact, got a question tonight regarding why do so many players get kicked out of the face-off circle. I thought it was a great question. Tried to answer it the simplest way I could because there are several reasons. I'm going back to it. It was a long time back in my timeline because you guys were so good as far as your tweets tonight that, boy, this is a long way back. So anyway, there are several reasons that you can get kicked out of the face-off circle. Okay. One, you improperly put your stick down. In other words, you put your stick down too early, you can be kicked out of the circle. Second, your body position. If you are in an illegal position, you can be kicked out. So there are several reasons. So stick down too quick, body position is wrong, you get warned by the linesman. We saw that a couple of times. If you do not respond, then you'll get kicked out of the circle. So pretty interesting there. And speaking of the circle, big thing that a lot of people aren't talking about, but we focus on this with Spits and Suds. Stars win the face-off battle, 55%, 55.4 to be exact, to 44.6. That number in the third period was up in the 60s. And we talk about shots on goal, really kind of a stat that you want to pay attention to, but it's kind of a basic stat, similar to what people tell me about plus minus. It's like that initial stat, but you are seeing a trend that when the Stars match the Avalanche as far as shots on goal, they're playing much better. Thought the Stars did a good job staying out of the penalty box as well. Yeah, there were a lot of penalties in this game. 34 minutes of penalties for the Avs. Those are from the misconducts. 32 for the Stars. But I just felt as though the Stars did stay out of the box for the most part, which I thought was absolutely great. So let's get to your tweets. One other stat, well, two to be exact. Pete DeBoer, 13-5 in games after a loss in playoffs as the Stars head coach. That is terrific. Jake Ottinger, massive in back-to-back games where he loses the first game, usually comes back and wins the second game. Stars led for 59 seconds and 51 seconds tonight after only holding 62 seconds of a lead previously. How about that? So only 62 seconds previously, and then basically an hour they had the lead tonight. So led throughout, and it was a terrific effort, terrific game. In fact, one of the things that I talked about was playing in straight lines, which Pete DeBoer had said. I wanted to see that tonight, and they did. Exert some physicality. They went back to that, which I like. And remember, physicality isn't necessarily like a punch or a slash. It's getting in hard in the boards and causing turnovers, creating a check to stop a player, separating the player from the puck. I thought the Stars did that. So even though it was just 29 and then the Avalanche had 51 hits, and that's very deceptive because I actually think the Stars hit at the right time, so to speak, and it did get chippy towards the end of the game. Cody Ceci, 21 block shots. How about Cody Ceci losing a blade on his stick? A blade on his skate, and still having the ability to deflect a puck. Could not stand up. That's warrior mentality. Stick tap to Cody Ceci. Also wanted to explain, there were several of you on social that mentioned that the penalty against Evgeny Dadonov was a flop by Manson. Manson has played a lot of minutes in the NHL. He is not a flopper. And I know you could say, well, he was on that play. But I'm just letting you know, Josh Manson's a pro's pro. Loved him in Anaheim. Love him for Colorado. I think he's just a solid defenseman. I think he's played really well in this series, as a matter of fact. I think he's been one of their better defensemen. So on that play, for perspective, I wish this was video because I could kind of show you. But what I want you to do, quick homework assignment, if you want to do this, do a quick walk around your couch or around your bed if there's space behind the top of your bed. So do it on the couch. Don't get injured. But let me ask you, when you do that, are you going to, if I say you need to get around as fast as you can, what are you going to do? You are going to cut that corner. You are not going to make a square around your couch, right? So what happens then? If I'm going, let's say, left to right, if I'm at my couch, okay, when I'm turning, I am going to cut close to the corner of the couch. Therefore, my foot, meaning my left foot, will be on the edge. And I am more likely to slip at that point. So think about that with the goal. Josh Manson has limited time and limited space to get through that area with speed to avoid Evgeny Dadonov getting the puck. Plus, he has to protect. So on that play, he is using his left skate, and that left skate's going to be out. But remember, just like you turning the couch and cutting, he is cutting with his skate. Therefore, just the slightest hit of that skate is going to push it inward, which is going to cause the player to fall. And also, Dadonov's stick also got to the legs of Manson. So for those reasons, that will be called every single time. And it was a trip. So I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to explain it and be simplistic in how I go about doing these things. So just wanted to, get that out there. I understand the passion. Stars fans, you guys are unbelievable. You guys are awesome. At the same time, I went back on Twitter when Roope Hintz did a two-handed slash to the head of Nathan MacKinnon, and that was not called. That would have been a two-man advantage for Colorado. That would have been a crucial point in the game. That would have been a 5-on-3. It was not called. And you can counter and say, well, what about the slash on Mikko Rantanen? And what about Gabriel Landeskog behind the net and the slash there? Totally get it. They're going to try to allow the boys to play as much as possible. Whistles will be kept in the mouth without being blown, because it's the playoffs and referees do not want to be the center of attention. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now we will get to your tweets. Gregory Finley, our crack producer, we made a promise and we're going to deliver. The record for the quickest goal was scored by Don Kozak for the LA Kings 6 seconds into a game against the Boston Bruins, April 17th, 1977. I guess the question is how are the Kings playing the Bruins in a playoff matchup? That's fascinating. So we'll have to research that even more. All right, the previous fastest goal to start a Stars playoff game, Jeff Halpern, who's now an assistant coach in the NHL, 24 seconds into Game 2 of our first-round series against Vancouver, April 13th, 2007. So thank you very much, Gregory Finley, our crack producer, for amazing work there. Okay, let's get to your tweets. You guys had so many. And let's see what you guys had to say. Michael says, great listener, Michael, thank you so much. Do you feel that this game gets in Blackwood's head? Playoff games are tough, but game 6 and you can go home is a whole nother level of pressure. I actually think Jared Bednauer did a good job of pulling Blackwood tonight, just like Pete DeBoer pulled Jake Ottinger, giving Blackwood some rest. Let's be honest, Scott Wedgwood had a really good third period with 8 saves. So will it get in his head? Certainly possibly. Goalies have an amazing way, similar to cornerbacks in football. When they get beat, they just have an amazing way of erasing it from their head. He wants those 2 goals back. Those are the ones that he'll think about. But at the same time, let's see the response. Could it get into his head? Sure. But the Stars have to make it get into his head. It's not so much like, for instance, that goal was created as much by Wyatt Johnston as much as it was the flukiness of the Avalanche losing the puck. And Blackwood just did not have the right positioning, just a smart heads-up play. But I saw one of you tweet, and it's absolutely one of the best hockey terms. Good things happen when you put shots on net. Rather than Wyatt Johnston wait, why not just put it on net? He did, and it results in the first goal. Same thing with the Harley shot. Looked harmless, and then it bounces up. Blackwood loses it and knocks it in his own goal. So, will it get in his head if the Stars do what they did tonight? Yes, absolutely. But if they play the outside game like they did in the game previously, then I think Blackwood could gain a lot of confidence, because those saves, when you're not screening them, are easier to make. But the drive-by tips like Mason Marchman tonight, that stuff gets in your head. All right, my man David Kokas, great team win, and love how they are standing up for Jake and themselves. Essa Lindell was great going after McKinnon, poking at Jake after the whistle. Yeah, I thought that was really good too. Shows team camaraderie. Blackwell, Beck, and Petrovic deserve to stay in the lineup. Yeah, be really interesting when Miro Heiskanen comes back. I believe Petrovic will be the odd man out. Lyubushkin will drop down and play in the third pairing with Bishop. That's just my thinking, because it'll be pretty tough to drop Cody Ceci down to a third pairing after the way he's playing and the experience of Cody Ceci in the playoffs. Jeffrey at JLux007. I have a beer league game Thursday night. What do I do? Play or watch game 6? Great effort tonight. Keep it going, Stars. Great question. So here's what you do, my man. Go get yourself a nice beer league win. 100% tape the game. You can catch up in between periods, and if it runs really late, it's all good, man. Just go home and watch it at your leisure and pleasure. I know you can't tweet then, but stay away from social media and just do both. I mean, heck, I host the podcast and I did that. Okay. Like, I didn't miss much of the Stars game, but I fit in USA versus Sweden in the U18 World Championships, which, by the way, if any of you want to go to a game, let's hook up. Let's go out there. It's cheap. Ticket center ice, $35. Let's have a Spits and Suds party. That was an awesome time. Get to root on your country. Whew, that was a lot of fun. So go to the beer league game, my man, and just enjoy. Wasuko. Victory scotch for me. Makar got phenomenattered. Love the gritty, physical, hungry play today and that PK performance by CC Chef Kiss. Okay, that victory scotch. That looks very delicious. And wow, what a pretty cat in the background. K10SW. Yes, I do deep dives into your pictures. This is the Cup contender team, everyone that bet on. Nice of them to fully show up or show out and show out. Now, if we can keep the game 4 impersonators off the ice for the next 13 wins, we'll be good. Some people are already asking, Gavin, what do you think of game 6? I'm just going to be honest. No one knows. No one knows in this series because the teams are that evenly matched. So Stars had the Avs number. Saturday night, Avs had the Stars number. They've also played close games. So could it go to overtime? Absolutely. Could the Stars take the series? Absolutely. Could it be 5-1 Avs and we're going to a game 7 and all the momentum's on the Avs side? Sure. Could happen as well. Dylan Moreland, you can tell by how Rope celebrated when Rantan scored how much they want this for him. Yeah, I like that fin line a lot. I like that fin line. Also, how does the guy sitting behind Jared Bednauer match his suit so perfectly? That was absolutely brilliant tonight. Okay? That was absolutely brilliant. Looks exactly like Jared Bednauer. You know, in fact, had the nice combed hair just like Bednauer, had the perfect suit. Wondering maybe if he saw like a suit earlier that Bednauer was wearing and could match it up. But also to his right was someone wearing a wig replicating that woman that sat in the front row last year that caught a lot of eyes. So good job, Stars fans. That was really funny. Christopher DeHardy, here's the iced coffee pitcher and the grounds used in it. Ooh, delicious. For those of you that don't know, I am a coffee lover. Needed that fight back big time. As bad as I felt after game 4 is how good I feel after game 5. Great job by Wyatt Johnston. Fantastic job by Mikko. End this thing in Denver so we can get a small amount of rest. Yes, that would be amazing. And they will wait on the results to announce the start time on Thursday night. So I think probably tomorrow evening, we will find out what the start time is. And it's not going to be too much of a difference. It'll either be the early game or the late game. I'm guessing it'll be the late game. Howie he, Monday Night Frosty is a glass of High West bourbon on the rocks, and it tastes so good after a win like that today. Ooh, that does sound delicious. Credit to DeBoer. Felt like he knew exactly what he was doing in his pregame comments, softly calling out his top players to step up, and they responded. Yeah. We talked before the series started, and I asked you guys, please lay off Pete DeBoer, because I felt as though throughout the season he has pushed the right buttons. Remember, this is a coach that has gone without Tyler Seguin. This is a coach that has gone without Jake Ottinger for a little bit. This is a coach that obviously lost Miro Heiskanen, and Logan Stankover was traded. Mikko Rantanen coming in. So a lot of adjustments. CC and Granlund also lost Jason Robertson. So a lot of just coming and going. And I really feel as though the locker room does respond to Pete DeBoer. So I am pro Pete DeBoer. Okay. I think that maybe will he lose this team eventually? I mean, most NHL coaches do. Heck, we can call that coach for the Florida Panthers, who's known as one of the best coaches in the NHL. He resigned from Winnipeg, saying that the team he felt as though wasn't responding to him anymore. So it certainly happens. Dylan Moreland. Sean Shapiro has a great explanation on why 11 forwards, 7 defensemen would be a great call when Miro returns. I agree, Dylan. Thank you so much for the promotion. Sean Shapiro at Shapshots is his Substack. That article was posted today. It does make a lot of sense where you'd protect by having 7 defensemen. Aaliyah going with post-game kombucha. Nice job getting those probiotics in your system. Really happy to see our guys show up tonight. Hope this continues to Colorado. Also, I need a Matt Duchene goal so bad. You did get yourself a delicious Matt Duchene assist tonight. Thanks for the email or tweet. Boy, it's late. 1:19 in the morning. Noah Brown had to break out the sweet tea because it was such a sweet win. Yes, it was. The Moose, that's Mikko Rantanen's nickname, is officially loose. Really proud of the boys to bounce back after getting shut out. Complete game from everyone tonight. Yeah, absolutely. Husky, very glad the top guys finally entered the chat tonight. I'm also beyond glad that I'm going to bed happy tonight, but not after another celebratory Dr. Pepper. 12 fluid ounces. How do you go to bed after a Dr. Pepper? That is funny. The heart of Avs territory tastes so good. Texas staple. 23 delicious flavors. Fat Jimmy. By the way, I have Dr. Pepper on my Mount Roosevelt of Texas institutions. Okay? My Texas institutions that would be on Mount Roosevelt would be Dr. Pepper, would be Buc-ee's, would be Bluebell ice cream. And I'm trying to think of a fourth. I'm going to have to think of a fourth for you. I know it's out there. I've said it before. All right. Oh, Whataburger. Obviously, Whataburger. So, Whataburger, Buc-ee's, Bluebell, Dr. Pepper. Fat Jimmy feels like a 6-pack of Frosties kind of night. 1 for every goal after this breakout game. Big cheers for the boys tonight. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Carrie Eddie. I felt like the Stars adjusted in the second to beat the forecheck, which allowed them to get some quality zone time and scoring chances. Not sure how they did it, though. Also, I would have said that Petro would get scratched when Miro came back. Is that not a sure thing now? No, they could roll 11-7 if Pete DeBoer wanted to. And they could go 7 defensemen and just keep their current 6 defensemen and work Miro in. They certainly could do that. And it also makes sense because of that Colorado offensive rush, keeps everyone fresh. The Thack man, Aaron Thacker. This really felt like a complete team win. I'm glad that Mikko and Wyatt got off the snide. This team can keep up the working as a team. Then I feel good about their chance. Also love the physicality. Stick tap. Thank you. Stick tap to you, Thack man. Always great when you can chime in. Okay, let's see. I tweeted out earlier, meaning Mikko Rantanen. That's what I've talked about regarding Rantanen opening up space specifically on the power play. Wonderful pass by Matt Duchene. The credible Hulk answers me, Gavin, but he actually sucks. Just ask Avs fan with a couple of laughs. And David Coca says, LOL, great comment. Yeah. When someone doesn't sign in your town, you obviously no longer think they're any good. But you do have to take a step back and realize that, Stars gave up a good player in Logan Stankoven. But that doesn't mean we can't root Logan on, but they got back a great player in Mikko Rantanen. Now, will the draft picks pan out for Carolina? We shall see. Adam Deacon. Hey, Gavin, this is what I'm talking about. Stars getting physical and letting those pesky Avs know they are in a battle. Well worth the late night. Next game is going to be brutal. Remember, Adam listens over in England, so he follows the Stars from over there. We need Dutchy on the score sheet, and a game-winning goal is in the cards. That would be amazing. Remember what Dutchy did to end Colorado last time. That would be great if we made that 2 in a row. Thackman, how did Landeskog get penalized for the punch in the scrum, and how did he not get penalized? How did Makar not get penalized on the hint shot? Feels like the refs have not been good this game. As I mentioned earlier, the refs are going to let things go on both sides. Both sides, I feel as though, committed penalties that weren't called, and that just happens. It's playoff hockey. You just have to keep playing. Crow, why? It could be Tampa, Florida. And man, I feel like suspensions are looming every single game, it seems like, or at least they're being talked about in that Florida and Tampa series. All right. Crow Wi-Fi, I don't like the leeway McCarr gets. So I think that's Howie. He also says you can feel the Mikko Rantanen confidence growing each shift. This is the player you make the trade for. Love it for him. Okay. So I think that does it for the night. And wow, you guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for all the podcast love. Once again, you can help us out. If you listen to the podcast on Apple, just drop us a review, just a real simple review of why you like Spits and Suds. So we're working on a new Spits and Suds program for tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have a new podcast as we lead you up to game number 6. Cannot wait on Thursday night. Time to be determined. But either way, whether it's early or late, one thing you can count on, Spits and Suds will be there for you right after the game. We love you. Have a great day, everyone.